Alright, welcome to Cloud Kingdom, guys, where it's the site for our first battlefield between these two players. In the bottom left corner from Team Evil Genius's raid call, it is Thorzain. Marcus Eklof, who is the WCS Sweden champion and winner of DreamHack this year. Actually, really fun thing, I talked about it to him, and he said Thorzain actually doesn't even consider himself too deep in a slump, at least for 2012. He thinks he's done a pretty reasonable job, at least earlier on in the year. Sure, he may not be winning every single tournament, but he's won tournaments, and he's gotten enough money to actually feel like he's been pretty satisfactory. So Thorzain's at least keeping a healthy mindset, which is really important, because if you start getting to that loser mentality, which is like, everything I'm doing is wrong, and Andre was telling me this about it one time, where if you just go on like a non-stop losing streak and you start getting down about yourself, you start losing confidence in your play. You're ahead, but you don't feel like you're ahead, so you don't know how to capitalize on advantages anymore, and your decision making starts to significantly drop. And you might still play well, but you just still lose games. But Thorzain's not in that mentality, according to at least what Kevin's told me. So I think Thorzain's still in a pretty fresh mindset. But he has a huge mountain to climb in Taeja, the blue Terran in top right from Team Liquid, the ace of one of the biggest news site in StarCraft 2. Taeja is awesome, but he has been suffering some injuries, Andre, and people have been saying that's part of his decline because his wrist injury is starting to catch up to him. It just seems like the best Terrans in the world are plagued by injuries, man.
MVP, Taeja,
Gretorp,
TLO at the time.
TLO.
Gretorp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just it seems to wear on them, but I think Taeja, of course, I know Taeja is still one of the top Terrans. Just when he's on top of his game, he's scary. He's a rally train in itself. You can never count him out. It seems like as long as he has a pack of bio, he can make anything happen.
Well, we're going to see how Taeja does against Thorzain over here, as he already scouts out his opponent, who has gone for a gas first. Now, normal indicators whenever you see gas first is one of two things. It's either very fast Banshee or Reactor Hellion. It is Reactor Hellion in this case. Let's see how Taeja actually deals with this, because he has kind of gotten a delayed gas. This is super delayed, by the way, and a delayed command center. Now what this does, it's still in essence a very fast command center, but what he's doing is pretty much making the factory a little bit shorter, but making the command center a little bit longer. Okay, I could have said that word better. He's prolonging the command center, but making the factory a little bit faster. So it's still economic centric, but he's just covering his bases a little bit better, getting his tech out and being able to defend against the plethora of things that Thorzain could do.
Well, that's what Taeja has to do, but let's see if he actually ends up doing it. Second gas almost finishing up as well. Taeja doing sort of delayed Hellions like you were mentioning, Andre, and I think, I mean, based off these opens, it feels like it should sort of cancel out here, unless Taeja lets more damage happen, and I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, because Cloud Kingdom is a map that you kind of suspect a lot of one-base play. People like to proxy factories a lot and do stuff like that. I know that Taeja knows that Thorzain's not proxying, but in general, Hellion elevator play is so popular on this map that some people opt to go for a fast Viking, like Gumiho, for example. If you watch his GSL matches or even some of his GSTL on Cloud Kingdom, Gumiho loves going Viking into mech, but instead of going for like an early medevac or a Banshee or even a Raven, he just goes Viking. It's really cool.
Well, we'll see how good this particular Marine Hellion drop is going to be, as the Hellion almost passes that one dropship, just so very close. But he's going to go ahead and take the watchtower. That should give him some indicator to see where's that Hellion going. And of course, it's going over to a drop.
Wow, Taeja's giving him plenty of time.
Taeja, come on, man.
And the Marines do end up surviving. A few more Hellions coming in. Oh, Taeja pulling his SCVs as well as summoning back some of the other Hellions. And it looks like Thorzain will have to eject, at least for now. 4 Hellions do come out, but the first Viking is pressuring that medevac. It is going to die. So Thorzain's on the clock. And Taeja deals it very nicely, not losing too much. Awesome.
Nicely done,
and he has an
Taeja.
extra
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he does. And not only that, look at that. He cleans up all the Hellions without taking heavy losses. This last Hellion shouldn't do any damage. And from this Thorzain now is just halfway done with his command center. So Taeja, yes, has a amazing advantage.
Third command center. That's standard textbook Taeja realizing, okay, I held it off. Get super far ahead.
A nice scan actually sees what is the continuation to this. Is it going to be a continued pressure, like a 1-1-1, or are you switching it over to more economic style? And he scanned and saw a tech lab on the starport. So normally you're actually scared of not Vikings, of Banshees, in which you would make a lot of Vikings from that. But of course, we see that he's going a Raven instead. Very, very intelligently done.
And now Taeja has all the time in the world. He doesn't have to ever feel like he has to attack. Or he just has to get a nice army, transition to whatever composition he wants to go for, which I guess in this scenario he's going to go for Delayed Cloak Banshees, which is so funny because Thorzain's going for a fast Raven. So based off the way the mind games work, right? The Delayed Cloak Banshees, like, he won't be expecting this. I can shut down his economy further. I can harass a ton, get super far ahead with 3 command centers. But Thorzain's like, yeah, I'm going to go fast Raven. It's actually really funny how that worked out.
This matchup is a lot of punishing your opponent. Like, you don't want to actually go a build that defends against everything. I know that sounds crazy in this matchup, but there's a lot of times positions where if you defend against everything, you can actually be taken advantage of in the economy. You can actually just lose straight out if you defend against everything, just because it takes so much investment to defend against something like Banshee Tech, and then at the same time defend against something like Marine Siege Tank. That's why these players actually focus on scanning and actually seeing what exactly your opponent is doing, else you're going to be behind. And part of that, Taeja is trying to punish his opponent now by going this obviously the Cloak Banshee, but a lot of times, Thorzain will not defend against this. And look at this, Thorzain has a Viking in position that will catch that Banshee momentarily. Nicely done. Cloak will go ahead and initiate pretty soon here.
And Taeja won't be able to really do anything. He's just going to maximize it. Nice repair on the SCVs to make 3 shots instead of 2. And Taeja does whittle down the SCV count, although he's very far ahead in the workers, 38 to 51. And he's even got defensive siege tanks. Like we said, Taeja never really has to attack. He's just going to be super far ahead production-wise. Getting up his own factories a little bit later than his opponent, but that's okay considering how much excessive resources he has because of that lead.
Second Banshee is going to go ahead and dodge that Viking shot. So nicely done. There is an impending drop with 4 Hellions ready to do damage on Taeja. Let's see how he actually does. Thorzain actually doing a pretty good job. He is behind in the 3rd command center, of course. But Taeja is still ahead. Even though supplies don't really tell that, just having this 1 command center here helps out so much. 58 to 41 Harvesters, sweet Jesus. That is a big advantage.
Now Thorzain, man, I mean, he can't, I guess he has to just keep doing this because he doesn't necessarily have that strong arm to do anything. He can harass with Hellions.
Oh. This is good.
He's got a limp. Oh, no, a great defense again from Taeja. Does manage to pick off a few more workers, but, I mean, Taeja's been able to trade this very efficiently, and how much this cost Thorzain to harass. In the end, it's a nice little pickoff. Again, another run-by attempt at the 3rd base. Thorzain trying to do everything right. Just Taeja holding beautifully. It's kind of one of those things where you try to force an opponent to make a mistake, and then what happens when your opponent doesn't make a mistake is like, wow, you're just outplaying me.
Yeah. That's honestly it. Now, Cloud Kingdom, I do like this map because even if it's mech versus mech, you don't really have the stagnated, situations where both of them are splitting the sides. It's actually a situation where, because there are so many counterattack options, you can kind of circumvent the army at all times. And that's really, really cool because I feel like it brings on a lot of quick thinking. You have to be on the map. You have to be on top of everything if you want to be successful. And we already see that right now as Thorzain has taken the center a little bit here, but I don't know if he's going to really do a lot of damage, as Taeja's pretty well equipped over here.
Yeah, I think Taeja is just super safe now that he's got a pretty healthy tank count at 4, which you might say like, it's not a lot compared to the 8, but 4 is enough to make any ramp jumble really nicely, and he's starting to add a lot more tanks, and he's also getting double armory upgrades, which is going to eventually catch, or actually succeed his opponent. Thorzain now starting to incorporate some Thors. I guess that's his way to deal with any kind of threat of point defense drone, as well as the slew of Vikings that Taeja has. He's moving out. He's going to try to catch Thorzain out of position. A little bit of volleys back and forth, but in the end, the point defense drone is forced from Taeja, and as well as Thorzain. Now the Banshee's going to be able to work onto the tanks as long as he can fight for air position. Look at this of all things. It's a mech game, but it becomes a war of sky, Terran, early on, and Taeja has a big advantage. Banshee able to whittle down the numbers, and Taeja able to take back that tank advantage simply because of positioning. Nicely done and able to fight for Sky. Thorzain not actually moving out from here.
Not sure why not.
He's losing his tanks one by one. Oh, he's trying to bait him into the auto turret, but the Banshee just has to hold back a little bit with strength.
Really nice job. Banshee, what are you doing?
Thorzain's going to take this notion to expand to a 4th location. Now, I don't know how safe this is. I feel like it's not safe at all considering Taeja controls the map. The tank count is low, so he's going to be spread out thin. In fact, can he even prevent this Hellion run by, Andre? He can't. In fact, they're going to have like this awkward base trade where Taeja is just going to have to lift and abandon that 3rd, but he's got defenses back at home. Everything's going to die at the natural for Thorzain. The SCV is trying to block blockade the path. But Taeja's got a lot more at Thorzain's natural than Thorzain has at Taeja's 3rd.
Unfortunately, these SCVs will not run to cover as this other command center is actually taking the pathing, the priority pathing. But these siege tanks on the high ground should be able to stop everything. Taeja has gone ahead and denied everything as well. You can see the 3rd base is removed. The natural is actually removed, which is a lot more critical. And he has a lot of siege tanks over here where Thorzain doesn't. So that means he can actually just camp over this natural for the longest time, and he doesn't have to worry about a thing. And there you go. He's sieging up, taking the contain, whereas Thorzain doesn't have the contain, so obviously big advantage going to Taeja.
Yeah, now Taeja will kill off this orbital command, maybe. No, wow, well done there by Thorzain to defend it. Now Thorzain also has 2 more expansions going up. Taeja does not know about this 4th base. In fact, doesn't know about anything. He thinks his opponent's contained to 1 base, giving him a false sense of security. Although Taeja just has so much.
Don't land that orbital command center!
Wow. Don't land that other one either, Taeja. Oh man, getting a little bit sloppy, but it's okay because he now has a huge force, point defense drone to prevent anything from coming up, and now the Vikings can clean up this huge force. And Thorzain doesn't really have that large of an army. Wow, I think Taeja should just be able to crush those other expansions and he'll be set.
Yep, and he has the full contain, so he's going to do a great job at just pressuring the 3rd, pressuring the 4th base. He doesn't have to worry about a single thing. Thorzain now going to try to bust out here. And this might not be too good. Taeja is focusing down all the siege tanks. And with that focus fire, he's going to clean up everything.
Wow.
GG.
Thorzain leaves the game. Taeja takes game number 1. I'm trying to think of that scenario because Thorzain realizes, you know, I don't really have that strong economy. I have 3 command centers in different spots where Taeja's not hitting, but he realized he has no army to fight against that. And that contain didn't even break.
Exactly.
So he can't even do anything from that spot.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Even if he waits the 3rd, 4th, 5th base, they're all going to die. And Taeja can easily reinforce everything. He can just go ahead, attack with Hellions at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th base, and then reinforce with siege tanks, with Thors at that natural, and just say, you're not getting out of here. Stop. And then, of course, force the GG.
Stop. 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 Guys, that game was brought to you by Kingston HyperX. Check out their stuff at kingston.com, all their SSD and memory. We'll be back with game number 2 between Thorzain and Taeja. This TVT will resume right after this commercial.